Turn with me, if you would, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 1. For these last few weeks, forces a person to call upon the Lord. Proverbs 1 addresses where we are today in a very interesting way as it gives to us insight, skillful understanding. But I think of the book of Romans chapter 3, that they walk in darkness, they don't know why they stumble, but there's no fear of God before their eyes. Somewhere, somehow, the fear of God has seemed to be forsaken. And folks just don't have any clue what is happening. So let's just go through this process as a father has spoken to a son. He speaks about what's dangerous, how it leads to destruction, except there's a way out. God always makes a way out. What is really astonishing is wisdom's response when people don't listen. It's really earth-shaking and hard to believe that God would be like that. So I want you to observe 5 things in this chapter. First is wisdom's desire, especially in the first 6 verses. And then wisdom's warning of danger. Wisdom's deliverance. Matter of fact, there's always a way out with God. Number 4 is wisdom in destruction, and finally, wisdom's dwelling. Verse 1 says that Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, the king of Israel. So he's giving us insight that his father taught him the things that he should learn and know and understand because of the challenges he's going to be facing, and God uses this wisdom to teach us. Proverbs is really Jesus teaching us in the Old Testament. It teaches every imaginable concept on life. And there's 31 Proverbs, and it's good to read one a day and absorb it, meditate on it. So here's how he begins. With him speaking to his son, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. Now notice, there's 3 things you're going to see repeated over and over with him. Wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Knowledge is acquiring actual, factual data. Understanding is properly interpreting that data or information. Then wisdom is the application of that knowledge accurately interpreted. So he says this wisdom is going to help you to receive instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity. People often call it fairness, but equity isn't just fairness. Equity is what's right. And sometimes what people call fair isn't always right, but God is to give subtlety to the simple. The word subtlety means discreet, prudence. That is, knowing how to govern yourself in a disciplined manner. To the young man, knowledge and discretion. So he's saying, son, it's so important that the simple know how to be discreet, and that they have this discretion at all times so they won't make foolish mistakes. Now notice in verse 5, I don't know, CJ, I missed something. In verse 5, he takes us back to this whole thing of what wisdom will do in us, through us, for us, as we hear. I want to pause there for a moment. Have you ever heard it said that experience is the best teacher?
Yes.
Would you say it's normally what we hear? Experience is the best teacher.
Yes.
I want you to know today that is inaccurate. Wisdom wants you to hear, not learn by experience, because many times with experience, people fail and fail and fail and fail. God says, I want to help you from the very beginning. You don't have to go through that problem. I want you to hear and increase in learning. Not, you know, I can tell you this. I got an electrical background, and sometimes there's wires that big, called 350 or 500 thousandths or millions. They're huge copper wires. Now, you couldn't connect those to a switch, like you flip a switch, because there's no switch so big. And the other thing is, you wouldn't be safe in flipping a switch 480 volts that's carrying so much amperage. So, here's what's done. They make a coil and they wrap it with copper wire. Then it becomes a magnet. There's a magnetic flux lines that go around this little coil. It's small. It can even be turned on with something as small as 24 volts. Here, we turn it on with 120 volts. 24 volts. When that coil is energized with a switch, it pulls the contactor together, and those great big wires now are instantly connected by a contactor. Now, I want to tell you something. I don't need experience to tell me that I have to get my hands on something of 480 volts before it kills me. So they taught me. I heard, I saw pictures, and I learned how to incorporate a coil in a project that's a big electrical energizing element. Now, you see, a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. A person of understanding. But how did all this start? My son, somebody's got to be your teacher. Today, how many children have no father? On this Father's Day, think about it. 72% of many children have no daddy. Well, who's going to teach them? Mama's working 1, 2, 3 jobs trying to make things go. We got problems. Verse 6. To understand the proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark saying is, they're riddles. Have you ever noticed Jesus, when he talked to the people, he talked to them in parables? Now, what does that mean? Some never got it. Only the people that were chosen to understand heard through the wisdom that Jesus was teaching. Isn't that true? Yes. And even the apostles would say, Lord, what did you mean? We don't understand. He said, didn't you get that? In other words, are you so thick you don't hear? But he was a father to them, and he taught them to hear the word from God. Now, watch what happens. This is the foundation of it all. And it's the part that people don't want. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and instruction. Have you ever met fools? Do you understand there's more fools than wise?
That's true.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Say, well, what's the fear of the Lord? Hate evil. Hate pride. Hate arrogance. And the twisted speech. Manipulated speech. Dishonest speech. Because that's what deceives and captures the mind of people. There again, notice what he said. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law, the Torah, the direction of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament. This is the example would be the Olympic wreath that you used to see in the Grecian games that they would wear around their head. He said it's as grace upon your head, and chains, the big gold chains they used to wear. Now they still have the gold medal around their neck. You're going to be a winner. My purpose is to make you a winner. I want you to be a champion. But it's based on what you hear, what you know. My son, if sinners entice you, consent not. Notice the word sinner, chata. And that chata means a criminal. Accounted guilty, a sinful sinner. Now, I've shared with you for 4 weeks in a row. Why would they ever call us sons of God, the saints, the justified, the sanctified? Why would they call us sinners? And again, he said, if sinners entice, they're criminals, and they're going to do things to harm us. So if a person would say, well, I'm a sinner saved by grace, then you ask, are you a criminal? If they say, come with us, let us lay in wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. I underline this because I want to take it just a little deeper when it talks about innocent without cause or to shed blood. Now, the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, the king of Israel. Notice, David had just won a great battle for Saul. This wasn't a win for David. You understand? Saul was the king. Saul's the one that's going to be apprised to say, wow, you got great warriors. But he got so jealous because David got praise. But what's this? Saul is angry and he's jealous, and his son Jonathan says to him, for he did put his life in his hand and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest and rejoiced. That's what he's telling his daddy. Look at this. It continues. Wherefore thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause. You see, this goes right back to what we just talked about, isn't it? Why would you slay David? Why would you shed his innocent blood without a cause? Now David has taught Solomon about the very thing that was going to be done to him. Don't do that. Why did they do it? Jealousy. Wanting control. Have dominion. Now, you say, well, that just happened with David. But let's go to the New Testament. Christ is innocent. For such an high priest became us who is holy, harmless. The word harmless, akakos, means innocent. Undefiled. He's separated from sinners and made higher than the heavens. But there were two men responsible for Christ's death. Number one was Judas. He was saying, I have sinned and I betrayed innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You look to that. Well, he did. He cast down the pieces of silver he sold Christ for, departed and went and hanged himself. What a result. You see, this was a result of a greedy man willing to shed blood until finally he realized Satan had trapped him. You know, Satan first tempted Judas, but then the scripture says Satan entered into him. That's the problem. Can I tell you there are multitudes today where the evil, dominant, demonic spirit has ruled them. You see it in America. You see where God has rolled back the curtain and He's letting us see what's happened to a nation. That they have rejected Him. Even our churches. Even our churches. I watched where the president of the Southern Baptist Convention said, we likewise submit to Black Lives Matter. I want you to just think with me. He hanged himself. It didn't end well. What's the other one? The second man guilty of innocent blood. When Pilate saw he could prevail nothing, that is, prevail nothing by talking. You understand? He had the whole Roman army behind him in Israel. Would you know that? All of them. He's got all the military might right there in Israel. But rather than a tumult, an uproar of frightened was made, look what he says. He took water. He washed his hands before the multitude and saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just or righteous person. See you to it. Hold it. Leaders can't do that. Leaders can't wash their hands and say, okay, now you take care of it. That's why you are a leader. That's why you must be courageous. That's why you must take responsibility. That's what you were elected for.
That's true.
Let's just pause. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Did you see what happened? When the temple was destroyed by Titus, the people were killed, the women were raped, the babies were cut up with swords. Nothing was left in Jerusalem 40 years after the crucifixion of Christ. Let His blood be on us. You see, innocent blood cannot survive. Oh, look at this one. They that hate me without a cause are more than the hairs of my head. They that would destroy me, being my enemies wrongfully, are mighty. Then I restored that which I took not away. Here he is. They hated me without a cause. Why do people hate you? Because you're righteous. Because you are walking with Jesus Christ. And they will hate. They will have desire for even murder. They want to eliminate the sons of God on the earth. What He restored? He gave life back which had been taken away. He said, if I had not done among them the work that none other man did, they had not had sin. But now they both seen and hated both me and my Father. That is, He was performing the works of God, showing them God's love, God's grace. But they rejected His works. This cometh to pass that the word might be fulfilled which was written in their law. Notice it again. You see, it goes all the way back to Proverbs again. They hated me without a cause. Have you ever been hated without a cause? Sure. Do people hate today without a cause? Sure. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. I'm not intensively seeking to be divisional. But there's 360,000 white soldiers in the North that died in the Civil War to free the slaves. Let us not forget that. 275,000 were wounded. I'm broken when you think of our president who fought for this country, gave his life as a leader. George Washington. Then they tear down his statue, cover it with a flag, and burn it. And then they tear down Thomas Jefferson, a third president. Ulysses S. Grant, the great general that fought in the Union War, and they destroy his statue. And now they have destroyed Francis Scott Key, who wrote, Now in Columbus, Ohio, they're going to take down Christopher Columbus. They're going to have to rename the city. Folks, this can't end well. I just read this week that 2 million guns have been sold. You can't even buy an AR-15 or an AK-47 now. They're not even available. They've all been sold. I know of people in Central Florida that have filled their bedrooms with ammunition, preparing for war. Every action causes a reaction. You cannot have a vacuum of power and authority. There will be something that rushes in to take over. I must tell you, the Democrats nor the Republicans have done anything to stop our problem. Neither of them. And then I heard our president last night, Mr. Donald Trump, say, as he talked to the men that were there with him, what should we do? He said, we're just going to let it play out. And I say, Mr. President, you're not a leader. You cannot let this play out. It's going to get worse. You can't have people go in and take 6 blocks of the city of Seattle away from the people and they can't do business, and then others stand there with AK-47s not trained and say we're going to protect what is ours since they stole it. I want to ask you a question. What would you do if somebody came to your home after they've defunded all the police and some man comes to rape you, and then the others come and take all of your possessions, your clothes, your antiques, your dishes, everything you have in your home, all your furnishings are gone, and then after they're done using you and stealing from you, they throw a Molotov cocktail in your house and it's on fire, and you can't get either the firemen or the police to come? Would you tell me what you're then going to do? Listen to me. You know who I wait for? The Black Lives. Let me tell you why. They don't say white, black, unite. We've had over 50 years of college professors, administrators trying to destroy our nation with Marxism. Wipe out capitalism. I know, I've been there. CJ's been there. I imagine when CJ left, he hated America. They do everything they can to insult and destroy this nation. So what have they done? They've gathered the weakest. Those, many times, who have no father. They've lied and lied and lied. They don't give them opportunity. They don't give them opportunity. So they say Black Lives Matter. Well, of course they do. But let's notice what's happening. They push them out front. You don't see some white person out there as the spokesman. You see some young black person as the spokesman. Do you realize that black people in America comprise 13% of our population, of the 330 million people? That means there's 87% that aren't black. And I would say out of all those Black Lives Matter group, probably only 3 or 4% of the black people really want that. Do you think the black people that you saw worshiping God and praising Him today, that's what they would want? Of course not.
That's true.
So who's behind this? I don't know if you've ever been to the playground, Kelly, Donald. I was. When you're playing some kind of a competitive sport, and 2 guys get into a huff, they start getting into an argument, they got pushed something, and then the mob of guys get around them. And while you're there debating and arguing, somebody pushes you into the other person. And this person doesn't see you getting pushed, and he punches you in the face, and now the fight's on. And that's exactly what these white monsters are doing to these unknowing, being used black lives.
That's true.
Don't ever think they are spending money. I say this to you. I read all these corporations. We're for Black Lives Matter, you liars. I said, you liars. If they were for them, do you know what Apple would do? They would build an educational system. And they would bring those black people there and say, we are going to train you and equip you and enable you to have a great job here.
That's true.
They would bring them to Silicon Valley and say, we are going to prepare you for computers and we're going to do everything we can to assist you. We are going to father you, help you, teach you, bless you. They don't do that. They just push them out. You know why? So they can get what they want by using them.
That's true.
And they don't know any better. Because they don't have a father. They didn't have training. They didn't have instruction. I just have to tell you this. When you see no action of leadership in our nation, there will never be a vacuum of power. Somebody's going to rush in. And they won't care whether you were part of Black Lives Matter. They'll just be looking to see if you're black. Somebody says, mark the word. This can't end well.
That's true.
And you know what's sad? They don't even know they're being used. Do you know when people are used, they're deceived? Let me give you an example. When he says to his son, when sinners entice you, what does a mob do? Let me tell you what a mob does. They bring up some young guy and they give him little tasks along the way, and finally they bring him in and say, you know, we want to promote you, Marco. Man, he's excited. He's going to get promoted. But what do I have to do? You have to prove that you're capable of being a leader. Yeah, I'm capable. What do I have to do? We think there's a traitor among us. He's your friend. You got to take him out. That way we know that you are capable of being part of the leadership team. Absolutely. Don't let sinners, criminals, those that are guilty of this evil work entice you, son. Because they will shed blood without any cause, and they don't care. They only want to advance their purpose. That's what they did with Jesus Christ, wasn't it? Only advance their purpose. Who? The chief priests got all the people stirred up, didn't they? And Pilate, as a leader, didn't have enough courage to deal with it, did he? And right in their midst was Judah, who betrayed his own Savior and his leader. You see, without a cause, except for greed, watch what happens. Let us swallow them alive as a grave, and whole as those that go down to the pit. We're the mighty people. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. We're going to take the possessions. Hold it. Just stop a moment. Do you remember after they killed Jesus Christ and the Christians were strong in Jerusalem, what they did? They took their homes. They took their assets. They took everything they had. They took their spoils. And it says in the book of Hebrews chapter 10, they weren't concerned that they took everything from them because of the hope they had of heaven. They imprisoned them. They beat them. What did they want to do to Paul? What did those people constantly want to do to Christians? Kill them. And that's what Paul did, wasn't it? Do you see how that works? Proverbs is trying to teach us, avoid that from happening. And here we are today, seeing it happen before our own eyes. Now here's the other thing. They say, cast in your lot among us. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're the son of the king. I know, but let's have a communistic system, and we're going to support you and be with you. Let us all have one purse. That's always a good reason to back off. That's what they're saying today. We're going to take what's ours. Well, how did you get it? We just took it by force. My son, walk not in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. Did you read how there's been over 600 policemen that have been seriously wounded and some killed and people have been killed? And then you find that politicians are even paying their bail to get them out of jail? Have you read? You say, wait, is this America? Let me pause. Do you know something they don't teach anymore in schools? Civics. They don't want you to know about civics. If I ask you today, could you tell me the first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution? I would say 90% would not know. Because they don't teach it. They don't want you to know. It's like somebody asks you, say, well, when can we go back to church? I didn't say anything. I just didn't say anything. Do you understand the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights to our Constitution? The first. There can be no law. There's no restriction against religion, press, or free speech. No law. Or the assembling and exercise thereof. That's the first thing. Who can tell us not to have church? Nobody. Somebody said to me, well, there's a policeman out there, they might arrest you. I said, let him arrest me. And I'll have an attorney tomorrow. That's the Constitution of the United States of America. When I was at the university and my professor said to me that I can't mention God in a state university, and I'm paying taxes. And I said to him, sir, I have freedom of speech. That's my right, whether you like it or not. Gave me 3 Fs. And then he asked me to fix his dryer. And I said to him, when he asked me, what grade do you expect? I said, I'm getting an A. I gave the best speeches. He said, oh? I said, I want to tell you something, my friend. I fixed your dryer. If I don't get an A, I'm first going to the dean of students. Then I'm going to President University. And I guarantee you, I'll get an A. Now, you know when I got my grade through the mail, you think it was an F? Of course not. Because they have no courage. They're a bunch of cowards. That's the way leaders are. That's what's happened today. They're cowards. If they had any courage at all, they'd stand up and do what's right for everyone.
That's true.
Who has the right to go in and burn your home, steal your possessions, destroy what is... Are you kidding me? And then we look and say, who's behind all of this? The rich and the powerful and the mighty, and they won't lift one finger to help them. And when it's all over, they will be their enemy too.
That's true.
Church, if we won't stand up, oh, I got another one. This is a great one. And I knew when I started reading it what church it was. I knew it. But this church is a big church in Idaho. In Idaho, by the way. So they've got these stained glass windows. One picture, George Washington. One picture, Abraham Lincoln. But since people move from the South, well, we want to accommodate everybody. They put a picture in of Robert E. Lee. Now, somebody said, he was a Confederate general. We got to get that picture out of here. So they said, and the pastor went out openly, we have sinned. That's your sin. We got to take the picture of Robert E. Lee down. And I said, you stupid people, why would you put a picture of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln in the church anyhow? This is the house of the Lord Jesus Christ, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Not about presidents or kings, except the King. Always said. These people haven't got enough. Folks, I'm telling you this right now. You can't have leaders without courage.
That's true.
You have to want to do what's best for everyone.
That's right.
You know what I think? These young black men need godly help. I wish they were at Sarat. I wish they'd be at the church. And I wish they could hear the word of the Lord. And I wish they could see the worship of the Lord. And their life could be changed. It has to be a spiritual transformation. And the Scripture is going to show you that here. Surely in vain the net is spread in sight of any bird. Now, he's calling these people worse than dumb birds. And they lay wait for their own blood. And they look privily for their own lives. Look what happens. So are the ways of every one that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. You know, I'm speaking to you today from this book. Now, not everybody likes to hear from the book. Would you agree? Doesn't matter to me. I'm called to preach the gospel. If there was only one person, me, I'd still be here preaching. You say, well, what if there's nobody out there? I'll still be here until God tells me to go somewhere else.
That's true.
You say, are you kidding? Watch me. I'm not leaving my post. Somebody said, well, what if you die? I've been called to die.
That's true.
If you're ashamed of me and of my words, I'll be ashamed of you before my Father which is in heaven. I'm not ashamed of Jesus Christ. That gospel that changed my life. I'm His forever. Whatever He chooses to do with me, I read about Peter. He said, the Lord showed me that I must shortly put off this my tabernacle. The Apostle Paul said, I finished my course. I kept the faith. I'm going. I already see the guillotine. Cut my head off. I'm out of here. Folks, I must tell you, we're all leaving.
That's true. Amen.
It's just according how. I just don't want to go out a coward, do you? Greedy of gain. Now watch what happens. Wisdom wants the losers to win, always. Wisdom always is for us. She cries without. She utters her voice in the street. Today she's on computer. Today she's online. Today she's everywhere talking to the people about having wisdom and the fear of the Lord and knowing God. Now, not every church, not every preacher, not every person is going to declare it, but that's what the word of the Lord is, and there are those that will proclaim it.
Praise the Lord.
She cries in the chief place of concourse, that is where the people are milling and going through, passing around. In the openings of the gates in the city, she utters her words, saying, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? That is, you love your foolishness, your ignorance, your unlearned behavior. And the scorners delight in scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, or stands in the way of sinners, or sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree that's planted by the rivers of water, will bring forth his fruit in his season. And whatever he does shall prosper. Amen. So he's teaching his son. Knowledge is derived from the fear of the Lord. You know what? There's no fear of the Lord before their eyes. It's coming. He says, turn ye at my reproof. This is the way out. Reproof means God saying, I'm stopping you. If I have to, I'll knock you down. Turn at my reproof. Then he said, I will pour out my spirit unto you and make you know my words. My words will be known unto you. You're going to know them. This is deliverance. You see, we went through the introduction of wisdom's desire. Then we saw the danger of these young people, how they mill around and do the things without cause, shed innocent blood, become rioters. Even Peter says they think it's really amazing that you don't go out and riot with them during the daytime. I'll pour out my Spirit unto you. I'll make known my words. I will let you know the fear of the Lord. You see, church, the only way you and I can make it is when the Holy Spirit is poured out upon us. He's the only one that can teach us, guide us, instruct us, and He directs our steps. He leads us in the way that we're to go. Without the Holy Spirit, we can't do it. He said, I'm going to knock you down to get your attention so I can have the Holy Spirit poured out onto you so you'll know my words. Now watch what happens. Because I have called and you refused, I've even stretched out my hand. I've tried my best to stop you, and no man regarded. I'm going to ask you a question. What can you do with a person like that? Tell me. N-O-T-H-I-N-G. They are not going to turn. Have you met them? Do you know anyone like that? Do we see it in America today? There's a book by a man named John Ellis, who was a professor at Berkeley. When I was at university, even at our Christian university, teaching theology, my psychology teacher said he was a humanist. He had his doctorate. He was charging a lot of money to come for 1 hour of counseling. Said, I'm a humanist. I said, a humanist? That means you're putting humanity above God. He said, well, not really. He said, but we've got to just be concerned more about the humanistic philosophy. And here was his statement. Listen to this. He said, here's what's happened to creation. You have a beautiful painting by the greatest artist. And there was an accident. And a little scratch went down the front of that picture, just about 6 inches long, this huge painting. It's just a little scratch. All we have to do is find an artist that can go in and correct that scratch so it can't be seen. I said, you think the fall is only a scratch? That whole painting has been destroyed. He's got to paint a brand new picture. And it can only come through Jesus Christ, the shed blood and the work of the Holy Ghost. And I wanted to meet with him again. And he didn't have any way to meet. He would say, well, I'm in my office from 2 to 4. So I went there and I sat from 2 to 4. Took time off from work to go sit there from 2 to 4. He never showed up. So I went to him and I said, wait a minute. Why weren't you there? Well, I had something else to do. I said, you told me. He said, well, what do you think I'm supposed to do? I said, I'm going to tell you what you should do. From now on, you put a piece of paper on your wall or your door, and then you say what times you're available so we can sign up to see you. He said, I don't think that's necessary. I said, well, I'll see the administrator and I'll see if it's necessary. There's a piece of paper on the door. I want to tell you something, folks. We live in a world of cowards. What do you think? Now, you don't have to think with me. I'm just telling you what it is. And if the church isn't the church, because you are going to be challenged and hated and despised and rejected of men, just like Jesus was. He stretched out the hand, and no man regarded. You say, well, what does God do? What does wisdom do? Well, you said it, not all my counsel, but none of my reproof. What's this? This is shocking. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. Can you believe that's in the Bible, Donald? Can you believe the wisdom of God would do that? See if it gets better. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh upon you as a whirlwind. Have you ever been in a tornado? Anyone? Oh, hell breaks loose. You'll see cows flying in the sky. You'll see straws going through telephone poles. There's nothing left. When your destruction comes as a whirlwind, he's saying there's nothing remaining. When distress and anguish cometh upon you, what's wisdom going to be doing? Who would believe it? This is what David was teaching Solomon, and Solomon is teaching us. It's coming. You can't escape that behavior and think it's going to be well. He didn't say that wisdom's going to do it. He just said it's going to happen. You're with me? When your fear cometh as desolation, your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. Can you imagine what people are going to do with their little ones, with everything they got? You think it's bad? My God. There's no way out. Then shall he call upon me. Watch this one. But I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them. You see that? They're simple. They won't learn. They won't accept reproof. They won't hear. And the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. Do you see it? You see it right there? Do you see what the rich are doing to them? They're destroying them. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you imagine a book written that long ago and you see the reality of it today? Can I tell you, is there anything so amazing as that? I mean, that book, this book is incredible. And people don't even take the time. I say, Lord, there's no issue you don't cover. Now to you. But whoso hearkens, that is, hears and does, unto me shall dwell safely. We are in wisdom's dwelling place, and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. See how it is? Dwell safely, my child. And while there is ranting and raving and riots, you will be safe. I will have my angel camp round about you and deliver you. I will appoint them to protect you. You need not fear nor worry. I'm with you.
Praise the Lord.
I would to God that someone who was respected could reach those young people before it's too late. Because you and I both know it can't continue. You say, well, how are you sure? Because the Word of God makes it very clear what is going to happen, doesn't it? I want to ask you a question. Have you ever seen something so pertinent and applicable as today, as that chapter is right there? That's astonishing. And it takes us right down the road, because you know what happened in America? We rejected God. We chose the foolish professors. And I was telling you about John Ellis, and you think I got lost, but I'm coming back. He was a professor. He said, less than 40 years ago on our campuses, there were 3 liberals to 2 conservative as professors. 3 to 2. That's not bad. But then he said 10 years later, it was 8 to 1. 8 liberal, 1 conservative. Today, he said what we have are all the associate professors that will become tenured professors, assistant professors that will become tenured professors. And the odds are this: 50 liberals to 1 conservative. Now you tell me, when they are anti-American, anti-God, just like with me, they said, don't speak the name of God. They didn't say Jesus, I mean even God. And take us to show us those stupid movies like Billy Pilgrim, where the lady comes out naked, lays on the sofa, and the soldier who had been part of the Vietnam War is so stupid with his silver cap, silver boots, silver belt, he doesn't even know what to do. He just looks at her and finally walks away. And I say, I'm out of here. And I said to the young lady, get out of this place. This is a hellhole. And my professor, Larry Sutton, God bless his soul, I hope he's still around, I said to him, what are you doing sending young people in there to watch this stupid porn? You said you were a Presbyterian. Well, act like it. He said, well, what do you expect me to do? I said, let me have the class for tonight. I want to remind you again, they're cowards. He said, okay. So we sit in a circle and I talk to them about, can you imagine me becoming I'm the student. I become the professor. He sits down by me and I said, no, Larry, you don't sit here. You sit in the back against the wall, because I don't want them to see the expressions on your face when we mention Jesus. Now you would have thought he would have said, there ain't no way, Mr. Swalls, I'm sitting at the wall. I said, get your chair and go back against the wall. What do you think he did? He took his chair and went back and sit against the wall. I said, leaders have no courage. I want you to know something. The devil has no courage. You know why? He's always using someone else to do his dirty work. Even if it has to be a snake, he won't confront it. I'm telling you right now, there's always somebody out to use someone else to get what they want. But they won't show their head. It's the iceberg. You just see the tip of it. But down there is the power. I want to tell you, in America, these politicians aren't the power. It's the people you don't see. It's the demonic forces in Washington you don't see. Somebody said to me, why do you talk like this? My time is short. My life will be over. What about these precious souls? Who cares about them? They use them up. Don't give them any help. Look at these cities. Look where these people live. Oh, we're going to defund the police. You know what? Did you just read what happened last night? 17 people shot in New York. 11 shot in Seattle. We're going to get rid of all the police. They've already decided that in Minneapolis. Keith Ellison's son, Keith Ellison just happens to be a Muslim. We're going to get rid of them. You know what? Church. The church is the power.
Amen.
I'm telling you right now, God is with His church. But if we can't have courage, and we're going to say, okay, LGBTQT, you come in and take over. You become the priest. Come on, all you homosexuals that get married, you become the bishop. What do you think God's going to say about that? I mean, has His book have anything to say about it? Church, Jesus Christ didn't need a mighty army when He started. He had 12, and one of those was a devil. How many we got here today? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, my God, we're far out. People look at me and say, are you serious? You know, just because the church is big doesn't mean it's godly.
That's true.
That has nothing to do with it. It's not about entertainment, it's about truth.
That's true.
Let the church be the church.
Amen.
And let the people rejoice. For our God is a way maker.
Amen.
He's a miracle worker. He's a promise keeper. He's a light in the darkness. He's changing destinies. He's turning lives around. Oh my God. Sirach, would you just come to Punta Gorda? Shake this place with your music. May we shout and sing with you. Oh Lord, we need a move of your Holy Ghost in our midst today. America needs you. We cry out to you, God. Save the children.
Amen.
Save it from those liars and cheats, these prosperous fools that will use anyone to get what they want. I just asked this one question today. Why did they say it's Black Lives Matter? And who do they have as their spokesman? Young black lives, while these white creatures manipulate them and use them for their own selfish, godless purposes. You see it everywhere. If they really cared, they would promote them. They would help them. They would provide success for them. Not just live in big gated communities like Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco and let everybody else lay on the streets and defecate and urinate and take drugs and lose their lives because nobody gives a damn.
That's true.
Rise up, church. Church. If it's not for the church, tell me where you'll go. And if it's not for Jesus Christ the Lord, who can help us? He's faithful. He's loyal. He's reliable. He's our Father. Full of grace and truth is Jesus Christ. He has all authority in heaven and earth. And He's showing us the wickedness that those who seem to be powerful and mighty and have lied and cheated the multitudes. What do they do to our students? Oh, come to the university and you'll leave here with $100,000 debt, paying 6.5% interest, and there won't be jobs that'll even cover your college debt. True or not? You know, isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing how you can be misled by the miserable? He's Lord. So what does He say to the young man? My son, don't go down the road with them. Don't let your foot be in their path, because this is what they're always going to do. The path they walk. Stay out of it. Get away from them. But I want to ask you, this was a father speaking to a child, and a mother speaking to a child, saying, this is my law, son. My mother had a law. Follow my direction. I knew the words of my father. They often were imprinted on my butt. And they affected my mind. I don't know the connection, but there is one. But today they say, whatever you do, don't you abuse your child. Don't you spank them, or we're going to call the HHS and have you arrested. And then you'll need to spend $10,000 on an attorney even before you go to court. You see how the liars have tried to destroy us. Where'd that come from? From mothers and fathers? No, it came from the universities. So are you discouraged? Absolutely not. Go back to hell, wherever it comes from. I know our God reigns. I know the King is coming. And I know one day there will be no college professors, there will be no politicians. There's going to be those who love Jesus Christ, faithful, loyal, and true, who He will appoint over the nations.
Amen.
And there will be peace in the valley for me. There will be peace in the valley.
Amen.
And then the lion's going to lay down with the lamb. And the little child's going to be able to play on the hole of the asp. There will be no poison to bite him and no killing or destruction. He's coming. The King is coming.
Amen.
I said, CJ, the King is coming.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, I look at those clouds and I say, even so, come, Lord Jesus. Come and deliver us. But until then, my heart will go on singing. Until then, we'll carry on, because it is no secret what God can do.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.